On today's episode of So You Think You Can Freehand a Circle, we have this. Hello again team, it's Jess or JashiiCorrin and welcome back for another video. As can be expected from the title, today we are looking at 12 theme ideas for 2021 as voted on by the JashiiCorrin community Facebook group. If you aren't already a part of that group and wanted to join, there's a link to that one in the description box below. But in preparation for this video, I asked the group for their best theme ideas, and the 12 with the highest vote totals are the ones I'm putting on this spread. If the theme ideas on this one don't really float your boat though, there were plenty more ideas left on that poll, so I do very much recommend going and checking out our community group. Only if you want to. I will say that some of the themes that were picked were certainly outside of my comfort zone. For instance, this Galaxies one, I'm not really overly confident with watercolour, but that's kind of the most straightforward way to get a galaxy looking thing with tombos. I tried my best. In terms of timing, this one took about 3 hours from first touch of the pen to final erasings. But of course that doesn't include the figuring out of all the colour palettes and then sketching in the doodles to start with, etc. Which certainly did take a while. I did that over a couple of days. Although I'm putting these theme ideas in my journal, these aren't necessarily going to be the themes I do use for next year. I haven't made any plans in terms of that as of yet, but there is a possibility that some of these may feature. As you can see from the 12 boxes we have here, for each of the theme ideas, we have a space to do some decoration or doodling in that theme, the theme title at the bottom, and then on the right hand side I have a colour palette for the theme. Colour palettes are something that I really enjoy, and to be honest, they were the main inspiration for today's video. Back in 2018, I did a video similar to this for 2019, so 12 theme ideas with colour palettes, and in that one I also did monthly logs. No monthly logs in this one, but if you're curious in checking out that old video, there's a link to it in the description box below. In terms of the questions that were left on last week's plan with me, our first one comes from Mandolin, who asked, how do you and Vogel usually celebrate the holiday season? So going with an expectation versus reality thing, general expectation is that every second Christmas we spend it with each other's family. So like one Christmas with mine, next Christmas with his, next Christmas with mine, etc. But my family lives in Melbourne, and can't really travel right now, so yeah. In terms of Christmas this year, kind of tossing up between just doing like a friends thing, where it's like friends Christmas and they just come over and we play board games and stuff, versus going and seeing his family. The first one we were also kind of calling Orphans Christmas because we were going to invite anybody else around that can't go and see their family for Christmas this year. So for instance, colleagues whose families are overseas as well, that kind of thing. No official plans yet though, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens for 2020. Our next question came from Courtney, who asked, could you explain why having multiple journals would be needed? I find myself struggling to keep up with just one. Honestly, I also find it hard to keep up with just one sometimes. There are probably quite a few reasons to have multiple journals, but the reasons that I like to sometimes keep multiple journals would be, well, one, in terms of my long-term collection journal, that's for the collections that I don't want to have to reset up every 6 months. So they're collections and reference pages that are going to last longer than the life of just one everyday journal. So longer than 6 months. Things like pen swatching, wish lists, that kind of stuff. Another reason that people might like to keep multiple journals would be to separate different types of tasks. So they might have one for personal and one for work. This could be important for a variety of different reasons. I know we've had a couple people in the bullet journal community kind of fall victim to their places of employment, kind of like seizing their journal when they've left their place of work. And if you have both your personal stuff and your work stuff in there, it can kind of be a bit of an issue. Also people who like to take their journal to work and don't want all their personal information in there. Like maybe our colleagues don't need to know when we had our last period. Not that they should be going through our journal anyway, but people can't be trusted. There are probably quite a few other reasons, but those are the two that come to mind the most. Our next question comes from Isla, who asked, what is your favourite place you have ever visited? The first one that came to mind for this was when I went to Japan in year 12, so quite a while ago. And one of the places we went to while we were over there was Deer Island. It has a proper name. Miyajima Island. Or Itsukushima. I probably said both of those wrong. But it's essentially this island that's in Hiroshima Bay. And it's got forests and temples. But the thing that I really remember were all the deer. And the funny signs that came to tell you don't feed the deer and stuff like that. I don't have a lot of memories from my trip to Japan. Sadly, I lost all of my photographs, which was a real bummer. But that place I certainly do remember. Raven's Tailfeather asked, could you share some footage about you penciling in the designs? I'd really like to see the process that takes place before the black ink. So it's not really typical of me to film my penciling in process, mainly because I like to get really close to my page and I don't really want footage of the back of my head on the internet. Not because I'm self-conscious about the back of my head or anything, I just don't think it makes for a particularly glamorous shot. But for last week's penciling in particular, I used that tracing trick that I used in, I think, August's Plan With Me, where you take an image of the thing that you want to trace, you scribble all over the back of it with pencil, then put that picture on top of the place you actually want your drawing to end up and trace around all of the outsides, which will transfer the pencil on the back of that page onto the page you actually want the image to be on. That was really poorly explained, but if you go and check out that plan with me, it shows you visually and a lot slower what I'm talking about. Our next question came from Anna Maria, who asked, what are some cheap bullet journals on Amazon which still have some quality paper and 200 plus pages? Honestly, I'm really not sure, but I know some people did respond to your question in the comments of that video, so hopefully they've been able to help you out. As I mentioned in my questions from Bujo Beginners video, I really only feel comfortable recommending journals I've tried, and I've never used a journal with over 200 pages. You did also mention that you felt that the Archer and Olive and the LT 1917 were a little bit too expensive for your needs. Completely understand that, but for anyone who hasn't purchased an Archer and Olive before, it is pretty much my favourite journal. I do have a 15% off discount code in the description box below that you can use, and I know for Black Friday they also have a really good sale on, so might be worth checking it out, but only if you're keen. As always, thank you to all of our inquirers from last week. If you guys have a question you want answered in the next Plan With Me video, please do leave it in the comments below. I'm honestly pretty excited for the videos that I have coming up for the next month or so. For one, we have the 12 Days of Christmas mini-series, where I'm doing a Plan With Me for a Christmas/holiday layout for 12 of the days before December 25th. We of course will have my 2021 bullet journal setup video, my January Plan With Me, and some other things like a closer look at how I'm using my bullet journal with Notion, my intended 2021 planner lineup, etc. Beyond December though, my content calendar is looking a little bare, so it's as good a time as any to ask if you have any ideas of videos you want to see from me, please do let me know. As I've said previously, I like making content you guys actually care about and want to see, so always value hearing your ideas and opinions. Now would also be a good time to mention that I'm also hosting a giveaway with the lovely people over at Bunbogu, who have sent me some really lovely products to make up the prize pack. As you can see as I unbox it here, this contains 2 2021 dated journal inserts, a really lovely planner cover with a decorated inside, and some sheets of stickers for November and Christmas. I know the November one's a little bit late, but you can always use it next year. The stickers are really cute though, and I think I'm gonna have to get some for myself. Just to give you some more details about the products in the prize pack and how to enter, first looking at the planner cover, this is a B6 size made with Italian leather and gold foiling, valued at $138.50 Australian. The inside decoration is from the William Morris classic pattern called Strawberry Thief, and as you can see there's also a quote from him on the inside cover done again with that gold foiling. It has a space for cards and a space labelled tickets. The inserts that are included in the prize fit inside just by having their front and back page slot into either side of this cover. For the inserts, these are two 6-month 2021 dated journals, which are day per page. The paper is 52 GSM Tomo River paper, which is bleed resistant and fountain pen friendly. Which honestly, given how thin the paper is, that's kind of crazy to think about. The monthly calendars have a Monday start, and as you can see, each monthly section is separated using these light coloured segments on the side. With the inserts, stickers and the planner cover, the total prize value is around 200 AUD. If you think this is something you'd be interested in winning, there's only really two things you have to do. One is to follow both me, JashiiCorrin, and bunbogu_au on Instagram, and 2, like the giveaway post on Instagram. There are also some other things you can do to get extra entries, so in the description box below I have a link to both the Instagram giveaway post and the extra entry information. Probably worth mentioning, but the giveaway is open internationally, so don't feel like you have to be in a certain country to enter. And in terms of closing time, this will be 7 PM New Zealand Standard Time on the 5th of December 2020. The people at this online store were so nice to reach out to me so that we could offer you guys this opportunity, and best of luck to anybody who enters. It goes without saying, of course, but for the themes we've got here and the doodles that I've drawn to accompany them, this is only one possible way to execute this theme. The same idea goes for the colour palettes, of course. You don't have to use these colours if you're doing them. It's just one idea. For instance, with something like the galaxy theme, you can use pretty much any colours you want, and as long as you chuck some stars over the top, it still looks like a galaxy. Similar idea for the city skyline. I wanted to use pink, but you might not like pink. You don't have to use pink. And I don't want this to come off as like a, okay, wow Jess, thank you for giving me the permission to use my journal however I want to. But I think it's a good reminder sometimes. A lot of the time people who want to do certain themes, or maybe who just want to get into bullet journaling in general, feel restricted because they feel like it has to look a certain way or has to be a certain way. Oop, if I'm doing a Christmas theme, I sure as hell should have ornaments. Well, if I'm doing a Harry Potter theme, I better chuck the sorting hat in there. You do not need to do these things. This is your journal, and you need to make it for you. Just as a complete side note, while I'm watching myself draw in all of these things, you know what really grinds my gears? When people say, oh, this is so easy to draw, it's like anybody can do it. You know what, sometimes that just isn't the case. And sure, some things are easier than others. But you know what I found difficult? Drawing in these damn crystals. And honestly, they're just a bunch of random shapes with straight lines. But I'm not very good at random shapes. I like regular shapes, like circles that I can use a circle stencil with. Ignore that coffee cup. I like squares and rectangles, and maybe the occasional diamond if I can get the measurements right. Organic shapes or irregular shapes, not my forte. So when people say, oh yeah, you just have to draw like this kind of a blob and then add these kind of details to it, I'm not going to be able to do that without erasing it multiple times and then freaking out after I put the pen down and thinking, okay, that just looks really bloody weird. Just an aside, but one I thought was worth mentioning. Following that note, and following a couple of the things I mentioned earlier, including our question about penciling in, you don't actually have to put doodles in your journal. But if you want to, you don't actually have to draw them freehand either. Find reference pictures, find tutorials, trace things. We don't want your journal to be stressful. So if doing those things makes life easier, go for it. As we get towards the end of drawing out these themes, I'd love to know which one of them is your favourite. Or better yet, what's a theme that you guys are excited to try in 2021? As I mentioned towards the start of this video, I really love colour palettes, so getting to do a video like this was really enjoyable for me. I've intentionally tried to pick colour palettes that might be a little bit out of the ordinary for each theme. I mean, there's only so many ways you can do coffee, but unless you're going with a rainbow latte, and they always kind of seemed odd. You might be able to tell, but I do very much like contrasting colours, but I also really like gradients. Hopefully in this video too, you've also been able to pick up on the different ways you can use gradients. So of course you can blend them, like in the galaxies or the city skyline theme I have here. Or you can keep the colours more separate, like the sunset skies or underwater theme. Alrighty team, and here we have the 12 themes as voted on by the Facebook community group. So we have galaxies, candles, city skyline, landmarks, sunset skies, mushrooms, coffee, games night, sewing, crystals, cats, and underwater. Obviously, some of these themes are a little outside of my comfort zone. And although I've set this page up, that's not to say that these are actually going to be my themes for 2021. But hopefully this gave you some ideas of themes you can use next year. As always, thank you for watching team. If you liked today's video, please do make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you wanted to see more from me, feel free to go check out one of my other videos. Until next time, bye!